email, but I sent it to maybe just Andy.
I didn't.
Yes, it's ready for the trustees. All it is taking what is in the filming permit application, which is several pages long, because I revamped it to load it with all kinds of protective regulations for the village. And Andy and I agreed that this is not something that should just be in an application. It should reflect what's in our local law. So I took the building permit application regulations and rules and requirements and just essentially copied and pasted them into a form of local law. So that's what you have.
So we're close to being able to move this forward. What else do we need to do? Because I know
This is in part responsive to Mr. Pavel's comments about the permit having items in it which are not supported in the local law. The matter of the area of direct impact from filmings, I feel needs to be drawn out a little more specifically in our law. So I didn't feel like it was ready for prime time yet. And so I wanted to work on that with Dennis a little bit, share with the board the draft version. Get community input and so on.
so should we will we be ready at our July meeting to do that?
Yeah,
So as far as the process, do we need a workshop? Do we need it's not a change in, is it change?
It's local law. It's subject to a public hearing. It's not a zoning or land use, so.
So we don't need
So
to
the
go out.
of the county Department of Planning. May not need to go to any of the bordering, I don't think it needs to go to bordering village or town clerk, so it's one of the simpler type local laws right now.
All right, so we should be ready by July to have that, and we'll send a draft around when we've got those.
So July is gonna be the workshop, or what's in July?
July is a village board meeting.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to figure out when it's actually gonna be codified, the amount of footage, because there's more permits, I'm assuming, that are pending for filming. Am I wrong? Are there more permits that?
Yeah, but that would, the law would affect permits going forward from the day it was passed.
But is it like how long drawn the process? Is it gonna take months still before we see actual codified?
No, not months, if I may, Don,
Yeah, I mean, we've been working on this, so you're.
If it would, the
not
process
something
is that we have to we have to have a public hearing on the law. Then after the public hearing, we then
We can pass it that night.
pass that down, but we have to do the 30-day public notice before the public hearing.
I would say,
That's 5 days?
no, it's 5 or 10 at most.
Okay,
30 days is once it's filed with the New York State Department of State, after it's adopted by you, you file in New York State Department of State, it's effective 30 days after.
so its effectiveness is 30 days.
But that has nothing to do with you, that's just New York State law.
So ideally, if we did all of this by our July meeting, the law would be in second meeting in July.
We only have one meeting,
Yeah,
When is that?
20th.
Okay, that's doable.
so then it would, if we pass it that night, it wouldn't go into effect until August.
Yeah, late August, because, you know, I think, I don't know, do you email it up, Jen? Okay, yeah, it could be the August 21st.
Okay, so that would be the timeline that.
So by the
Ideally,
end of the summer, we're hoping to have it codified.
Yes.
But just recognize the codification is a clarification. It doesn't necessarily expand. I don't believe what's being proposed is to expand the zone. It's just to clarify what the zone is, because there's some ambiguity that has created the problem. in the
Right,
area.
that's the amount of footage the zone is from where the filming is that affected parties, correct?
Is it, we're gonna do it by script by.
Well, why don't we let Dennis and Andy work on the language for this and then bring it to us? Because there'll be a process that if people don't agree with what's there, they can make public comment about it. We can change our minds during the process. We may not like it exactly, but to say what it is now makes, we don't even know what it is. And it also it sort of prejudges the whole process of ensuring that we have public comment before we decide.
I was more speaking to the fact that he seemed to anticipate that there was going to be a loosening, so I want to make it clear that it's up and we don't know what it's going to be yet. But you'll have the opportunity then to weigh in at the public hearing. That's the point of the public hearing, is to get people like you or other people that are similarly situated the chance to speak about it before we make any decisions.
So the public hearing would be in the July one. July meeting.
Yes.
Most likely on 20.
That's the target. I still, there's just one provision that we need your guidance, Andy and I. It's the definition of directly impacted merchants. I think that's what we're chatting about here indirectly. But it's directly impacted merchants. We just need some definite clarification from you guys. I suggest we have one more meeting before July. When's it?
No, the next meeting is July 20th.
Discussion on July 20th. I'll do a memo about it. I'll chat with the mayor. And others. We'll try to get to what we think is going to be a successful language. And that'll be the subject of discussion on 20.
All right, so this will be done offline, only two of you at a time, no quorum. Communicate to Andy and me. We'll send you an email saying this is where we need your guidance. And again, it's really just one thing. It's the definition of directly impacted merchants. Look at it, not now. And I think that's what Andy's saying, that we might need to tweak a bit, clarify it in some way. And I think that's the only item.
I just want to make sure that it's very clear, so we don't have people guessing what it is, and our staff doesn't have to guess, that it's very clear. This is what it is. This is who gets reimbursed. This is the process for doing it, so that we don't have folks that are going, well, why didn't I get it? Why didn't I? Because that happens a lot. So it would be good for us to really have it clarified.
Just on that, I want to make sure that every time we undertake to amend local law, the board needs to give it due consideration and not feel rushed. It does.
Yeah, we
raise
need to do it right.
questions.
Yeah.
And we're not operating under a life and death deadline here of July 20th.
Yeah, look, we have been, this has been going on for 2 months.
Yeah, we've been going back and forth with meetings. Like, I've been here how many meetings now over something that should have already been defined in the law. You guys made contracts with NBC and several other businesses, and I've spoken to now several business owners in the areas, including workers. The park was taking up for that filming thing. People couldn't use the park. There was businesses affected. I went to all my neighbors, which were businesses on the same street as this building. People felt affected. Workers who work in the buildings felt
Just to be
affected.
clear, that's all gonna continue.
I
All that's gonna
understand, I
continue.
understand,
The only
but-
question that's gonna happen is we're gonna define more clearly who gets compensated, what business gets compensated as being directly affected. That's all. And I understand it can be frustrating to say that, oh, this has been going on for a couple of meetings. It's an issue that we're taking care on. And we don't do things that quickly. Things don't change. Legislation doesn't change that quickly on any issue.
Right,
Even
but
for
why
something
couldn't the
that's-
public hearing have been, like, why is it taking till now?
Because we're not ready.
Because we had other public hearings that were in place.
It's not the only thing we're doing.
There's other issues going on. And that's all. I'm not trying to at all. I understand your frustration. But just realize there's a lot of other people with other issues that they're frustrated about, as you are. We spent a lot of time worrying about the panhandling issue, the aggressive panel. That's taken up a lot of time for the last couple of weeks on public meeting, on these meetings. We've had special meetings about it. That has merited special meetings. I'm sorry, but the issue of who gets compensated for filming has not been something that has required special meetings that we've had to have. So I'm sorry that's gone slower than you would have expected, but we are going to be taking it up at the next meeting, which will be in about 3 weeks.
I understand. The frustration is not about the subject of the matter, but rather that the law wasn't properly stated, which is different than saying bringing up a different subject. It's saying whether the law actually was properly applied or not. So that's where the frustration is like, I'm in disagreement, like it could go to the judiciary to actually say, well, is this law actually? Because you guys are interpreting the law differently than members of the community. That's the part that's kind of like.
We do that with every law. I mean, we just had a public hearing 20 minutes ago, and I don't want to have an argument, we should probably put this down. But we had a public hearing 20 minutes ago to deal with the fact that there was ambiguity in the accessory dwelling unit law that had led to 15 years of the zoning board of appeals having to deal with making exceptions, case after case after case. And we've been having that discussion for 6 months. We've been having that. So things do take time. I'm sorry that it's frustrating to you. We can talk after the meeting.
I understand. I'm
But
here
that's what I'm-
trying my best, you know.
Laws sometimes are ambiguous and they need to be clarified, which is what we do.
The board will need to set a public hearing for the 20th.
Yes, I was just gonna do the vote. Thank you. I was just.
You do it?
I actually wrote it down. So I need a motion for a public hearing on July 20th at 8:00 for this, for the film legislation.
So moved. Second.
Second, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried, that will approve. The next issue, under old business was, we had a meeting with the social service agencies for the aggressive panhandling. They presented, what they're offering to the community. I had a follow-up Zoom call with MHA and, the county mental health and, Soup Angels to talk about the possibility of bringing the roving mental health van to when they do their evening events. We're not quite there yet with it, but I just wanted to let you know that I told them that the board was interested in having them here during that time, and that we would make accommodations for a parking spot somewhere for their van for a couple hours in the evening, or during the day, because we're trying to work out the logistics of when people are actually here that might need it. So we have a few more interviews to do with Catholic Charities and with Wayne Philhauer wanted to do a little bit more discussion with Soup Angels to kind of break down what's the timing. MHA Westchester, which is the one that has a sanction grant to do the roving mental health van. They're down a staff person, so they were only available for Tuesdays. We're going to try to figure out, Andy's going to meet with them to look at where we could put the van on Tuesday. Then on Mondays and Wednesdays, Soup Angels will be letting people know that the van will be there. We'll also work with communities of faith to let them know, with the Nyack Center, with the Pride Center, so that we're getting the word out for anybody that needs some sort of mental health diversion or help. That the van's going to be there, that there's full counselors that they can go and make an appointment or just go and show up. So we'll see how that works. But we want to move towards having it on a day that Soup Angels has their dinners, which is Monday and Wednesday, but they just don't have the staffing capacity to do that.
Okay.
So we continue to work on that. I have to say, I'm still very disappointed, and there was a lot of discussion about how everybody wanted to help us to work on this. And we've not really gotten much help after the initial 3 meetings. So I personally am a little disappointed. I guess I need to do some more outreach to people to get them back interested. I think the meetings themselves have sort of slowed the issue down some. But that's not helping our community. That's just solving it's not helping the folks that need the help. And we need to really kick this in gear, get the Nyack Cares process going, not just on the fundraising side, but also on the service provision side. I'll be meeting with the United Way to talk to them about 211 and how we can integrate that into the process. So we'll keep it moving, but we really do need some volunteer help to make this work. I also found out that the funding for the ambassadors program is fairly solid. We're still waiting to hear the final approval, but the resolution was passed in the assembly. The funding is available. And we just have to wait until we can find out when it's going to be. That will help us with the ambassador program. And with a couple other things that we wanted to do during the summer for our youth. But we're moving it along, but to me, it's really hit somewhat of a wall.
Question for you. I know that at one of the meetings that was discussed of the possibility of having a directory of all these agencies and what they offer so that everybody has that, so that they could, reach out and make a call in case somebody came into their store or they saw something going on.
So the meeting that we had with the social service agency is we invited the United Way. So were you able to do that? So the directory of services we're trying to get put onto their 211 emergency now. So that if a business owner sees that, or anybody in the community sees that somebody needs help, they can call 211 and say, where are the food pantries in the area to help this person with food? How can we get this person out? And then that should be something that the 211 network will sort of provide that to. I found out this morning that the mental health, the county mental health is looking at getting a 311 line. I think it's 811 is the mental health emergency line, that the number that's been designated for it at the state level, but that will be another number that we can give to for mental health resources. So we're starting to pull together stuff, but again, we're the village, we don't have the resources to do all this. I'm doing it, trying to bring everybody together, but we really need a steering committee to focus on.
And really not, as it doesn't have any dedicated volunteers who can come and help out, or even,
If you would want to contact them and ask them for that, that would be great. I have not been in touch with them other than when we do their ribbons and stuff, and so I have not done that.
get in touch with them, send them, I think I thought I saw her at one of the meetings.
She was.
Yes. And also, I'm not sure how comfortable anyone would feel about this, but I know Dominican University has, their social work students, will always looking for new projects get involved with. Perhaps this would be an avenue to us to, yeah.
Yeah, I know that the Mental Health Association is providing internships for them in their mental health. That's going to. That's what we were talking about that this morning. So we're getting a lot of information, now we need to put it all together. We really need some folks to help us. We don't have, with all the stuff that we're trying to do with the bills, ask you for me to say, and put this thing together. We just don't have it. So I'll be meeting with the United Way to see what they can provide as far as some support for the programs you don't want to into it. MHA is not on the Westchester MHA is not on the 211. So there's obviously, there's been obviously some misses there. So that's sort of, Joe, you were there. Did I miss anything? No.
No, it was a really good, it was a really good meeting, very positive. And the service providers, what was interesting is how they really don't talk to each other enough. Like there were people meeting each other who work in the same area, mental health. Oh, they hadn't met before, even though they run organizations that have complementary services. So that was useful just by itself. And I think that we've done a good job of identifying the organizations that are involved and raising our profile with them, as well as our, I think we're moving up their priorities list because we're reaching out to them and trying to get help. So I thought it went very well. Very well. I thought all the meetings have gone well. That went well. The meeting with the OPD went very well, I thought. And you're right that we haven't gotten the people volunteering in the numbers we had hoped for to work on some of the initiatives that we have to get done, but that might just require a little bit more marketing, a little bit more reaching out, a little more outreach.
Yeah, it's just something I haven't had time to really do, but I think you're absolutely right.
I think people want to, I think they just need to be, sometimes happens with volunteering is if you ask, hey, does anybody want to volunteer? Nobody raised their hand. You say, hey, do you want to volunteer? People say yes,
Yeah, that in itself takes work.
That's right. You have to identify people.
And a way to identify what you need volunteers for.
Yeah.
I think what we need really is a steering committee to do a lot,
Yeah.
a lot of that work. Have 3 or 4 people that are just really focused.
That's what they do. Okay, we may have enough for that, volunteer group that I got.
Any other questions about that meeting? We also had, Joe and I and Andy and, Dennis met with, a group of landlords about the Emergency Tenant Protection Act. A couple of representatives are here tonight. And I told them that I would bring to the board a discussion. You've seen a memo from Joe about, are we willing to entertain looking at other options to meet the goals of the ETPA, but see if we can work on some of the bureaucratic pieces of it. So if the board feels, and we can have a discussion about that, if the board feels that that's something we want to move forward with, then they were actually willing to do some of the work to get the rest of the landlords together to see if there was interest from the landlords to actually work on this. So we have some work to do on the legalities of it, which Dennis is working on. But it's an issue. This is exactly, we want to work together as a community. Our only options were the ETPA or people to come to us and willing to respond to the needs that the village has. They did come to us in a very, very positive manner about what they could do to help us and to help the community. So, Joe, if you want to add, or Andy, I want to add anything to that. But I think we just need a general sense of how we feel as a board to move forward with this idea. I told them that it had to be done very quickly because we're moving forward with the studies and moving the bill forward, the ETPA legislation forward. So we had to do this fairly quickly if we were going to change in direction. We've been drawing that out for 2 months. This has been almost 8 months that we've been working on researching to make sure we were doing it correctly, working with the different groups. So what do you think about it? You've all seen the email with the piece that Joe put together.
I'll just stress that I thought it was a good meeting that we had where we knew going in that the landlords were not going to be happy with any consideration of ETPA. But they came in with constructive thoughts and suggestions about, they obviously would like to avoid the ETPA because not just because of substantive provisions, but also because of the regulatory apparatus coming into play with them. But they were very open to trying to figure out a way to reach the substantive concerns we have about rental increases in a different manner, other than putting a regulatory regime in place that they would have to comply with that would be outside the village, that would involve the county and the state.
And we did talk about the process that we were concerned about just people getting pushed out of apartments.
Yeah.
Raises being made on their rent and then being given the leases like 30 days before they were told they had to leave or pay, they absorb increases. We talked about all those pieces, and those were things that they were willing to work with us and make sure that there was sort of a protocol to make sure that didn't happen. So the question is, do we want to go forward with that?
I don't know, I need a little bit more, because I had some questions, so I'm really glad. First of all, who is here that you spoke to, the names?
Carmela Coughlin, I'm with the Council Corporation for Warren Hills.
Warren Hills, okay. So, yeah, just a couple, like, number one, I think it's really great that they're willing to work with us. But I'm not ready to just make a decision if we're gonna be with them or EPTA.
No, that's not.
That's not
no,
okay.
that's not the decision we're making.
Okay, right.
The decision we're making is whether we're willing to have them work on whether it's possible for us to develop some sort of understanding. Because it would be someone's got to organize all the landlords and say, okay, if this is what we're going to need to do, these are the things that we're going to need to talk about.
And
that's what we're.
which is really great. So I love that they would be willing to reach out to the landlords to kind of, see how they're all thinking, which would be great. I mean, because we're doing a lot of work and that's really great that you're even offering to do that.
Everybody spoke.
Right. So if we, so it'd be really great if we could kind of, as a village, figure this out.
Right.
And, you know, that would be like the first thing, if we could do that, you know, so it works like, you know. So thank you very much for offering to do that and for being here,
Right.
you know, and representing, because that means a lot.
Just, I guess getting here both at the same
Yeah,
time.
this is on.
Oh,
Okay, I know, you know what, it's because this is on too, that's in our ear, like this air condition. So,
I just want to make sure you finish, because I don't want to ask them if they're.
yes, because I wanted to hear what you were
So we
saying.
did speak to all of the people on this list, there's 7 owners, I guess, on this list. One of them seems to think that he's not, he's already rented before. So,
Just speak up a little bit, I just didn't hear.
one of them on the list said that he's not part of the program, he's already rent control, so I think he's going to speak to him. Steve,
Steve, yes.
right, so he's on this list, but he doesn't, should be on this list. So then I spoke to the other 6 owners, and they're very amenable to working with the town, and we are all on the same page also. We sat at our meeting, we gave our, you know, pluses and minuses to everyone there. And, you know, as landlords, especially in Warren Hills, like, we've always been very good, we always fix everything. We've been great, yeah.
We need to identify for you the one landlord that's created some of the issues that we're working on, and have that landlord also be willing to come in, so we
Well,
can
I
do
did
that.
speak with him. I did speak with him. And we had a little bit of a conversation. We didn't think it was totally involved him. But he was amenable to what we talked about at our meeting. Going no higher than 5%. So he was okay with that.
I would just suggest, we almost not get into any of the details about because I think that all has to be hammered out.
Right.
I think at this point, we're saying, do we want to, are we open to the opportunity to pursue that? While we also not keeping everything going forward on the ETPA that we're doing, but at the same time, open up this channel as an alternative,
absolutely.
with the idea that we can always just give us this choice.
No other choices.
I'm honestly not really comfortable doing that. Right now, just. You know, there's a structure that has been operated, and we're not the first people to be passing the ETPA. We're not the first people to have this discussion, this is happening in most municipalities, given that rent has been increasing, I do think that there is a safety net for both tenants and landlords alike within that structure. So that's just where I'm at right now. Not really comfortable with this.
You're not so comfortable with getting the information about how it might work.
At the moment, not necessarily, but yeah. I mean, I'm willing to,
And then understand that we can't present it.
Hold on, we're talking.
I mean, I guess
Let's
I'm willing to.
have this discussion, because this is the ones that have to.
I think I'd like to see more information for kind of. I don't know, I don't feel like with what I have presented, that this is.
Questions, can we get more information? Are you open to
I
getting?
mean, I'm open to getting more information, but yeah, that's.
You don't want to prejudge.
We're not
Yeah.
prejudging which way we're going. We're only
Okay.
saying getting information. No, we were very clear on that, right? We were very clear that we're willing to get information, but our goals here are to protect our residents, to ensure that there's diversity of housing in the community that includes, and that our residents have the ability to not get thrown out of their apartments. And if we need to put
I guess I
legislation
just
in place, we
wish-
should do that.
This. Came up earlier. I know we've been hearing from tenants since last year about this. I feel like it's kind of a disservice to those folks to continue to delay this process.
I agree. I don't think we're delaying.
We're not delaying
Saying
it. We're still waiting for we still have to wait for the surveys to come back.
We still don't.
We're still on that process. That's the point. We're, like I said, we'd be continuing on 2 tracks, because we're not stopping anything about the TPA. The question is whether there's something else that we could look at the same time. On dual tracks, that's all.
But I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah,
And
I understand your point
absolutely
completely.
have your sense, I feel very
Yeah.
strongly about it. So I'm just giving my opinion, and we all have our opinions, and we can have it and say it. That's why we're all here. So we're, and I'm feeling, because aside from being housing my thing all these years, I'm very concerned also about the tenants, that what's been going on and stuff like that, but I'm willing and happy to know that we have some landlords that's willing to at least talk, not only talk about it, but go out and help us do what we've been doing by talking to other landlords. Because I want ultimately the best for the tenants, ultimately. But I'm just happy to be, since we're doing the process anyway, and to listen and to see, you know, what we could come up with, so.
No.
No.
I just want to say, I'm not gonna vote, I'm just asking for a sense of the board,
Yeah, right.
because I will need to.
Yeah,
Yeah, Andy and I will need to work with the landlords
Yeah,
if
yeah.
we want to get more information.
Okay.
If we don't want to get information, then we'll say that
Right.
we don't want it.
Yeah.
I think I'm hearing that we're open to.
Yeah, I'm
And
open to
more-
more information.
And
yes.
more process.
And especially knowing now that it's not delaying the process, because we have been talking about this, tenants have been displaced, and we really wanna, you know, do the best ultimately.
Frankly, one of the things that this discussion may result in is that landlord stops what they're doing. And that in itself will be, I think, the positive outcome as we're working through it. And for the tenants who are not gonna be pushed out because, you know, I mean, if it continues to get pushed out, that's gonna make our decision fairly easy about what we do. And from my perspective.
I want to make clear because it's getting lost. I don't want to say lost. I think there's a commitment that we've made for the last 6 months as we've been talking about this. That I think there's a universal commitment on the board to restrain and to do something to protect the tenants that are here. And to find ways to restrain the increase in rents, so that they're not forcing people out. I don't think there's no question that we're as committed to that as we have been. The question is there another alternative to doing besides the implementation of the ETPA? And if there isn't, then we're back to the ETPA. If there is, and like we said, this isn't slowing us down from, in any way, we're still working forward on getting
We're still waiting on some.
on the surveys about the vacancy survey that we have to do in order to implement ETPA legally. So I think that's good. And just to be also clear, the landlords came to us after they got the survey requests that alerted them that we were doing this, that they're not necessarily following our monthly reports on our minutes and things like this. They didn't know that we were doing.
They may from now on, but they won't.
The first we heard about it, I received them. Got the 6
So
properties, I
With the
mean,
board, I'm sorry.
out of the 6 properties and complaints, we feel like our property, we do very well with our residents. I don't think we've ever had any of our residents. So it's really a tough thing for us.
Yes, and
You
that's
know,
why
we
you're
really do love
you
our
show us
residents.
and you're willing to do the
Right.
And I do appreciate that.
Yeah.
Without, I don't want to make it feel like I'm not appreciative.
And I
do
down
appreciate
called everyone on this list and talked to them about it, talked to them about everyone here. What a great meeting we did have, so they are on board, you know, the one person or two, I don't know exactly, but I know the one. I did speak to them, so. And he said, you know, we would do it, so. You would agree.
Okay, so with your permission from the board, the sense of the board that I'm getting is that I can go and sort of work on this. And bring stuff back to the board. There's gonna be no decisions made by me. It'll just be, I'll communicate back and forth during our meetings about. Between meetings, and if we need to have an emergency meeting before the July 20th about this. I feel very compelled with this quickly as possible.
Yeah, me too, because people already are just.
They asked us for a 6-month window and I said, no. Yeah, basically, we have to do this. Right
Yeah.
now. So,
Okay, yes, that's what you're hearing.
okay. So we will continue to work with you to see what we can do on this.
And thank you very much for
Thank
being
you.
here and helping and caring.
New business, I don't mean to cut it short, but I think we've reached an agreement, so we don't need to talk about it anymore. That's my view of life. Once we've got somebody saying, yes, we can go, stop.
We go, we're running.
There's an old sales maxim.
Yeah,
Do not
once
talk that.
Thank you.
Have a good 4th of July.
We'll be in touch in the next week or so.
Yes. Thank you. Happy 4th of July.
Thank you.
Stormwater mapping grant, new business.
It's. I think somewhat unfortunate, the county, the state DEC funds. Which is wonderful, the mapping of our stormwater system is
We
really
have
important.
to put some money into it.
And what they're doing is instead of. Having the counties apply for the DC grant and then helping to pay like for engineering for the mapping. They're asking each municipality to apply individually for mapping grants. So I'm asking for this board's approval to submit a grant. It's through the CFA process. It's due on July 28th. The maximum ask is $60,000. There's a 10% match for the local contribution. And it's in order to continue the process of creating a GIS database of our stormwater system.
So what does this do to the stormwater coalition? Because we've been giving money to them every year to operate the coalition. My understanding, and I could be dead wrong, was that that money was to go towards the match that they got from, to help them with the match from the state.
I have to find out more about that, Mayor, because they do educational work, which helps us with our compliance with the MS4 requirements. There is outreach to
So
the
it's more
public,
than just.
telling people about us contaminants to go off your lawn or your car wash going, right? So a lot of educational work. I was assumed would still be headed up by the Cornell Cooperative Extension, kind of joint stormwater group.
Yeah.
So, but I'll ask that question. I'm not really sure of the answer, but it does mean that we need to make that grant application. The thing that excites me is if we can get the $6,000, wrap up our GIS, then we'll be positioned to apply for a grant for a back truck, which is a wonderful thing to get,
And we
which you can really use. For those who don't know what it is, it's basically 2 ways of digging a hole. One is with a shovel truck, and the other is by using essentially water and a vacuum to kind of liquefy the mud and suck it out. And what's really cool about that is in a village like Nyack, where there's lots and lots of pipes underground, there's always the risk of breaking an underground pipe when you dig a hole. If you have a back truck, you can suck the dirt out from around the pipes without hurting the pipes. And it would be a huge benefit both to the water department and the BW to have a back truck.
And
So-
how much does that cost?
They're running about a couple $100,000. Depending on the size that I'm getting new one about. And they're not cheap.
So Andy, we need a resolution tonight to give you the approval
Just
to.
so,
Yeah.
say, move forward with the application for the stormwater mapping grant. And I'm hopeful that we'll complete that and then become eligible for the next grant.
I'm okay with doing that, but I would be interested in knowing what our dues are gonna be to the stormwater coalition.
If it's changing.
Because I think that they should go down if it's only the education process, because I think it had actually been also to support their 10% match for the
I'll find out about that.
So I'd just be interested to know, I'm on board with what we're telling.
So excited about.
So-
Yeah, I know.
Next.
See his eyes light up.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I'm so
Always
excited.
supportive of that.
Well, let's make it happen.
For Andy Stewart, we'll get a back truck.
Yeah, it's on this
Right.
Christmas list.
It could take a while, but I was excited to see the DEC created a grant that's. Seems like just for
Your
back,
boys with toys.
but the only way you can apply for it is if you completed your stormwater mapping.
Right, get it.
You may need some volunteers for that too.
All right, so, we'll set I need a motion to approve a resolution to, I can sort of read it off one of the other ones here. To apply for a grant for the stormwater GIS mapping.
That's fine.
That's
Is
it.
that good?
Yeah.
We need a motion and a second for that.
So moved.
Second,
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed, motion carried.
Mayor, one other item, I sent the board a little memo about a block party.
Yes,
permit
you did.
I
request.
think
July
Mayor
4th.
goes to that.
Oh, it's
Stay
like-
here.
oh,
It's on the top.
it's the-
You gotta brief those out.
the last minute.
I got the last one.
Yes, yes,
That was on Zoom.
yeah.
So, yes, so July.
We can't hear you.
Oh,
That's
we
July.
have it, yeah.
Stand up.
Don't be shy. You both come, there you go, support each other.
I know. I don't like a lot of attention. They're very nervous, but anyway, so yes, a block party on Summit Street. July 4th, because John, as you know, we have lots of kids and you were there recently. Yeah, everybody's playing on the street and especially July 4th, there's gonna be a lot of traffic and cars really race down that street. We're constantly screaming, car, car. The other little ones.
Which street are you talking
So
about?
on the
Pew?
streets, it would be
Double between
between
you.
Pew and Hudson.
So we're going across Summit. The Summit goes. North south, yeah.
South, yeah,
You said down, yeah, I guess down would be north south, okay.
yeah, south.
I just think down the hill, I think where the pew goes.
Oh, yeah, no.
Yeah, so you're talking about going, you cross to get to Cedar Hill or to get to.
Yes, and they actually often speed by.
They should have speed bumps, I think, on the pew.
You don't have speed bumps.
No, not on some.
On to Pew, it's not on Sunday.
On the pew.
Yeah, on to Pew, actually.
Pew itself, not on Summit. That's
I
what I'm
wish we
saying.
did
There's
that.
two of them.
Yeah, I wish we did it. That's another.
I know, because I have found out.
Yeah, we're actually in Safe Streets to School considering putting in our speed bump where we need to work through. That's a process.
I have a question, too.
But
Okay,
let's stay on
let me
this.
go, yeah, a question about this, actually.
Go ahead.
That's July 4th, we're having July 4th here. Is it gonna take extra street closings in order to do that, like a lot more?
So. I discussed it with the DPW, we're actually having a July 4th planning meeting, and I brought this up. The staff are not opposed to having the block party there, it's when all the traffic is leaving the village after the fireworks, they're just trying to get up to Pew. Main Street, High Avenue,
Right,
whatever
that's
you got. That particular block isn't important for egress for the
It's
village.
important, but not.
And even if you're going up Hudson, because it's the section to the north, the car would just take a left on Summit
Yep.
go over to Cedar Hill.
Correct.
So it's not a problem from a safety or a sort of a getting out of town for fireworks perspective. We're happy to drop off the barricades there and out there on the street.
And the time again?
Are you having an event?
2 to 10.
No, we're just having all the neighbors get together. You would just all get together. Like we do every Saturday night. Yeah, and that's when we yell car every 2 seconds, because the kids are playing. Yeah, there's a lot of kids now, all of a sudden, there's lots of kids on the street. And my grandkids grew up in the city and, you know, it's a whole big thing.
Families, this kids.
Yeah.
I'm gonna drive down the road and see if you yell.
And you're gonna walk up and.
So there's no
No.
So no objection from DPW about doing this?
And not a huge.
It's not gonna affect the egress from the, I mean, how late would you have it closed?
2 to 10.
We said 2 to
10.
10.
So that would go through the fireworks. Sure, well, actually, fireworks usually over at around 10. I think this is a nice, these are nice people, these are our village, these are. Village out, right?
This neighbor moved to New Hampshire and came back years later and bought the same house on Summit Street. So you bought the same house.
They go up and down the valley.
So, we're
Yes, I'll
good.
talk about it.
We're good. So we need a resolution to approve this.
Yes.
Yes,
So,
so moved.
resolution,
Let's state what it is.
we're gonna stay with the resolution first before you move it,
I
okay?
know, I know.
So the resolution is to approve the closing of Summit between Depew and Hudson from 2 to 10 on July 4th.
Mhm.
Motion,
Is that
did I
right?
get that right?
Yes, right,
Okay.
that's right.
Motion, I need a second.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried.
Well,
At least you waited
stop
for
by.
today's-
I'll drive by.
All that waiting.
Stop by it, it's stuff that's gonna-
Okay, one last public comment.
Can I actually get a new item just to discuss, a quick one? I sent an email out, but I didn't make the communications. Glenn Schloss, who's a musician, lives in Nyack, had for a while run a monthly drum circle at Grace Episcopal.
Oh, that guy.
And, yeah, you know, the bald guy who does the drumming.
Yeah.
And he, but they don't really do it there anymore since the change, not because the new head of the church there is against it, just that there was, I think, a lot of. The last, pastor there, less reverend, was more engaged with them about it.
I think he actually played drums.
I think he played drums, yeah, that's sort of what I was saying. Yeah, Thompson, and he'd like to do it, but they'd like to do it in Hezekiah Easter Park once a month. And I think it's from like 6 to 9 p.m. Once a month on a particular Friday night. I said, I'm not looking for a resolution today, I just want to get a sense of the board. Because what I would do is I would go then talk to some of the business owners right in that area to see whether the drum circle would negatively affect them. Some of them have live music. I don't know if they have live music every Friday night. I don't know if they have live music that would be out in the front or whatever. But I think it's a nice thing. It's a very communal.
Your email had the time frame.
It was 6
6 to 9.
He was suggesting.
Like 3 hours.
That's
I think that.
And this is, what day?
See.
What day?
It would be a Friday,
Friday.
on a particular Friday.
Yeah, you may get some pushback from.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I want to bring it up and just see.
We've done it not like every month, we've done like one-offs on you and stuff like that.
And he wants to do
Usually
it
the-
specifically in the evening.
I think it would be an evening.
It's usually been like on a Saturday afternoon for like from 2 to 4.
Yeah,
That they do with drumming events either in Memorial Park
right.
or at Hezekiah Square. Doing it once a month, I think I'm okay if you go, as long as you go and get folks sign off on it, but it seems like a lot.
It seems like 6 to 9 seems like a lot to me.
And doing it once a month seems like a lot.
My question is, what if a bunch of people decided to gather in the Hezekiah Park and bang drums? Like, that's why there's always a fine line to me between things that are organized.
I know, but I don't get that.
It's just not-
Well, if they did that and we started getting complaints.
I think it might happen.
Businesses, then we would probably stop it from the noise.
All right, I will talk to him about whether there's alternatives we consider or different timeframes and whatnot. I think people come from out of town, so to do it, so. I think that that's why they want to do it in the evening.
And they want to do it in the middle of the village.
That's they want to do it in the park.
I know, but what if they did it?
Memorial?
In the gazebo for once a month from 6 to 9. That's within all the rules that we have.
Yeah,
set up.
okay, we'll reference that too.
Yeah.
And that's actually where the other folks that did it, I can't remember the name.
If you.
We should have that's embarrassing.
All right, so I'll go back to him with
Dance.
feedback.
Right,
Drum.
right.
Because they actually integrated dance into it.
Yeah.
And but they did it in Memorial Park at the
Yeah.
gazebo. They did it like once a summer.
She came here.
Yeah. Wish I could think.
I cannot remember.
That was recent. It was recent. That was organic.
No, that was,
Yes.
no, that was
Oh,
different.
that was different.
Oh, okay, that's.
That was DJs.
Sorry.
Well, this Sam Johnson was too.
Yeah.
She had drum circus as part of her event.
Yeah.
And it was probably the one that used to do it.
Yes.
All right, so you.
I'll talk to him.
Direction, go talk.
Thank you for the direction. I appreciate the feedback on the idea. Thank you.
Maybe it's an older restaurant.
Okay, so public comments on any item.
There's a restaurant.
Public comments on any item.
I'm just interested where you guys are on the vacancy study. Like that.
The survey was sent out.
Right.
We received several, and are waiting for others.
How many are you
We're
guys
following up with them.
I don't know, I think we've got 3 out of 7 back. And, honestly, there's at least one party who's probably not going to continue.
Yeah, we've got some, follow-up issues and maybe some, what can we do to require them to be sent in? Or what are the options if they don't get sent in? what does that do to us? So we're right now trying to figure that out. But we've had one landlord say they're not.
I'm lawyer's counsel, lawyer's advice.
Yeah. So we're right now trying to figure out how we move forward. We'll do it quickly. We're doing it as quickly as we can.
I do remember seeing something about how if you do not fill it out, there's a presumption against you if you don't fill it out.
Our letter said we'll assume no vacancy if you give us no information.
But
So,
we have to make sure that we can actually.
yes, the legal question is whether,
What's the building you did in? I think I have an answer for you, at the moment, I'll check. the
And they're the
statute
ones that are-
and See if the statute says anything about it.
Yeah.
And
I think we need to talk about that, and that might be an executive session, some discussion. Not that we can't talk about what
it's very simple.
the issue, but I think the resolution we need to talk about.
It's
Super, because it really will.
easy to
make
fill out.
it
It's not complicated.
a legal process.
I think.
Got the 5 questions.
What's your building?
Riverview. Is that the problem?
No, I just want to know which one it was, because you said there's issue.
I don't want to talk about which one it is, because we may have to enter into some litigation process. I don't know.
I mean, these landlords that we hear, it's very nice, you know, but like, if you guys go down that route with them, like how binding is it? You know, like the ETPA, it becomes like law basically. right?
Good question. That's exactly.
And we're trying to work that through to find out if they're actually binding agreements that we can enter. We've figured out all the things that we need to work on for it. And we've told them that we have to do it within like 60 days. We think that that'll be sort of the process. Once we get all the vacancy studies, then public hearing, vote, the implementation will be about the same time.
We're committed to,
We're working on
to the substantive,
as best as we.
finding ways to cap increases in rents in buildings that would qualify under the ETPA. We're committed to doing that. Whether it's done through the ETPA or in alternative means, that's the commitment that I think we universally have.
Yeah, I think the ETPA gives the tenants other protections too, right? Like, you know, say bye to you, which is what they do, you know.
Right, and then, well, that would have to, we've given them all, we gave them all that feedback at the meeting. We told them that it has to meet some of the ETPA. It has to meet some of the concerns that we've raised about the ETPA and why we're moving forward with the ETPA. If we can't do that, and then we're not interested. I mean, I was that one, guys. I was that one. We have to do this for our residents.
We've come so far with this, I mean,
Yeah.
it's been out since like that.
We will continue to work towards those.
It takes time. It takes time. Yeah,
Well, I'm also part of the tenants association and I was for Joe and I even supported his campaign and him getting elected. And the tenants association is furious to give you guys a like, they want a hard cap at 2%. They want some much stricter, like I'm telling you, Nyack is a progressive place. Our votes matter and it's gonna show in November. You're gonna see it. So, and you already saw it with Joe being elected. And thank you, Don, I believe you supported him too. We want.
Same number of votes that he had the last time.
No, Laura, we
Well,
were.
the last time he did talk about it.
Listen, I met, whatever organization you mentioned, it's the first time they've come into, I mean, we've been doing this for 6 months, they've never come here.
The tenants
The tennis association has not spoken a word about it.
What you just said is the first time I've ever heard it.
No, there's a few smaller tenants associations in the town and we talk. We're not huge, we're maybe 20 members, but we.
No
talk.
one's come.
I'm just saying that we don't
E
learn about things.
We're keeping track.
And I'm happy for Joe, I'm happy that if you're,
Yeah, I think
you're.
Joe's gonna keep that. Joe's gonna be fine.
All right.
Okay, so we are now with public comments from the Board of Trustees.
I really don't have much to say, and today was, you know, really, it was a great, once again, great tour, great, visit from the state. I do want to keep in our thoughts and minds the family of Sean Harris, when we're in Central Nyack. I know we've been talking about that. There was a rally earlier today about that. I'm sorry. I should have. But,
Okay.
We've been actually, there's been a number of events for him that we find out about like 15 minutes before they start.
in fairness, this was thrown together fairly quick. There was supposed to be another thing. There was a lot going on, but they will be there pretty much from now until I believe our report or something more happens.
So it's gonna be sort of like the George Floyd.
So, yeah, it's not like the George Floyd every day.
Please ask people, whoever's doing the organization,
I'll
I have an email, they can copy me on the email.
I will let
Because I went to the,
everyone know
Yeah.
to send it around other than through social media. I'll make sure.
No, I saw it on social media, but I saw it at 6 o'clock.
Right, no, I'm saying like, I'll make sure they send it to you guys, to us, all of us ahead of time.
Are they
aside
not
from yourself.
because they're central Nyack and that's why they're not? or-
No, I mean, I think it's just community folks coming
stuff,
together ad hoc, sort of, you know, trying to do
Definitely
things.
part of that.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
fine,
things
but-
have just kind of, you know, definitely, they just kind of threw things together.
Okay.
So, be more cognizant to make sure that you guys are all aware, but yeah. That's what happened, with some of the things that happened. Thank you.
I don't have a whole lot to say. Yesterday was a lovely day, a long day, but wonderful and a lot got accomplished. I want to mention for other people that haven't seen it, I heard that there was an amazing turnout for the movie last Saturday at the Nyack Center. For the urban renewal.
Yes.
That's what happened.
Sold out.
Right, and like, and interesting questions that came up during that, screening as well. I plan on attending, the one on Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
It's the seventh,
Like,
the seventh,
I mean, the seventh,
July 7th.
a week from Saturday. Yeah,
July
the
7th.
Yeah.
It's, I think, a Friday.
No, it's a Friday night, actually,
Friday.
at 7. It's a
July
Friday night, yeah,
So just to, are you done?
yeah, I am, yeah.
Joe, why don't you go ahead?
No, I was at the movie screening, just say that I thought it was very powerful and really extraordinary, and it's, it really does. It's offensive what happened 40 years ago, not the least reason, which is that just from attorneys,
Anybody who's watching, who's ever studied law knows that if you take someone's property, you're supposed to be fairly compensated for it. That's not what happened here. And that's on top of all the other inequities that happen with that. The idea that people have their property taken, or are properly compensated by the state is to me infuriating. And to see what happened and what was done in the name of progress was eye-opening. So I want to thank everybody involved in putting that on and putting together the documentary.
Yeah, it's very powerful. I saw it with the initial screening. I just want to remind the board that we've committed to having a screening for free for our community. After they do their fundraising, they've asked us to wait until they've got their 2 screenings done. But that we're committed to do that. I've talked with the school district and I'm trying to get permission to use the old high school auditorium. Which would make it a much bigger
Yeah.
venue.
Great song.
And I've also been in touch with Bill and Craig and Elise about it as well. They wanted to show it on the side of the Verizon building, but that's not the.
Not
not-
that,
yeah,
yeah.
I mean, the only reason that is appropriate is because that's literally where it happened. Is that
Yeah,
spot,
Right.
but it's more festive.
Yeah.
It's not a
Won't
festive
really
event.
be
This is
right
not-
here.
Yeah.
yeah, it's
So-
gonna be too important for people that are like really good.
So I just wanted to remind you that we do need to do a little bit of twisting of arms to get a couple $1,000s to make that happen. But we will be, I've talked with the NAACP, I've talked with all 3 of the 5 pastors from the churches that were affected by it. And they're all very appreciative and they will help us get the free tickets to the people that were actually affected. So we won't, like, that screening will really be for the community that was affected by it. So it's what we had talked about before. So that'll probably be later in the summer after they get their 2 screenings. But just as a reminder, we're committed to do that. I think I've talked myself out, so. I know, we don't need an exec session tonight, I don't believe, is that right, Dennis, do you need any exec session, Andy?
No.
Exec session, okay, I will then, entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting. We want to adjourn it in memory of Joe Mulger. I'd like to make the formal motion and then have all of the trustees second it.
Okay.
So that we can all be part of that, so motion in Joe Moger's memory for all the things that he did for this entire community. And all the Volkswagen bugs that he fixed through the years, mine included. And I think everybody else's, but what a wonderful man, and really gave a lot back to the community.
Excellent soccer player.
Yes, an advocate for soccer.
An excellent ping pong player too.
His feet were, his feet became.
And I think it would be really nice, his daughter lives in Valley Cottage, I believe, and I think it'd be really nice if we sent her. A copy of the resolution at the end of the meeting, so she can see that we gave special. Place to it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Thank you, everyone, and
Thank you all for sticking out.